So, firstly, he talks about his second mistake, which was to take so long to decide to be president. He even went to the extent of training, I think first one, then two, then three people who he thought would be suitable as presidents. But in one way or another, they were unable to stand up and accept such a post. Their faith proved not to be quite strong enough. Meanwhile, time was passing. So it took him 3 years, in fact, before he finally agreed to become president. And he says elsewhere in this that he lacked the confidence to take on such an awesome role. And interestingly enough, President Ikeda also took nearly 3 years to accept the presidency. And it wasn't until the high priest went to see him personally and said to him, "You really must do it," that he actually agreed to take it on. So, of course, it is an awesome role when you think about it, because they take the whole responsibility for the movement, for Causton of the world, on their shoulders. And it's an immense responsibility. And it's quite natural for anyone to feel that it was too much for them, that they weren't equipped to do it, they weren't perhaps strong enough in faith to do it, and so on. So I guess many of you have encountered this already. When someone said to you, "We want you to be group leader or district leader or chapter leader or headquarters leader," always there's that part of one's life, most of the time, in most people, which says, "Oh my God, it's the last thing I want to do." So, of course, there can be various reasons for it, too. One may be a lack of confidence in one's faith, or the fact that you're going to have to take up a lot of time in activities. All sorts of different reasons come up. I know it only too well, because also I had fought against the idea even before I came to this country, because I sort of felt that when I came, somehow or other, I was going to have to be a senior leader. And maybe that was my conceit. Anyway, that's what I kept on telling myself. You're just a conceited so-and-so. And what makes you think that you would have any such role to play? And anyway, the other part of me was also saying, I don't want to do that. That would mean I want to live in a country town. This was me talking to myself. It was Chichester, actually, where I wanted to live. And Mitsuko and I often talk about setting up a little business there and gradually shakabuking a group around us, which maybe might become a district, and leading a lovely sort of pleasant life down there. But in fact, of course, it was to be nothing of the sort. But these thoughts were very, very strong in me. And the biggest thought of all, the most important one, was that I hadn't got the faith to do such a thing if I was intended to do it. And I found on my last visit to the head temple before I permanently came back to this country, I found myself actually chanting Daimoku to the Daigo Honzon, saying, I can't do it, I don't want to do it, etc., etc., etc. And then there was a sort of explosion in my life, because it was like a thunderous, great, not voice, but feeling inside me, saying, it was like a voice, a huge voice, saying, what are you doing sitting there thinking all these things, What is that for? Pointing, I felt, to the Daigo Honzon. And I woke up at the start with this great explosion and realized what an awful, slanderous thing it was I was doing. And I said to Mitsuko afterwards, my wife, if it hadn't been the chair had a back to it, I would have gone over backwards. The explosion of this was so colossal.